Hello cellists! Welcome to day 14 of our new mini-series. It's Valentine's Day, the 14th of February 2021, and we are looking at the 14th study from the set of 60 by Feuillard. Today's study is very optimistic and cheerful. I wouldn't say it's a particularly ideal for a melodic line on a day like Valentine's Day. Let's have a look at what it actually is going to cover technically. It's about bowing. And it mentions at the top that it's about the right wrist, so we're looking at the flexibility in the wrist here. There is also a way that we could look at one of the variations and look at finger control. So the actual study itself, they mention middle of the bow. I'd say balance point for these quavers. And you can see the movement in the wrist there. The second variation, which is also on a squared up rhythm of fours, I would think more middle of the bow. And you can see again it's about the fastness of the wrist, but it's very, very important, as I've mentioned before in these videos, to have very good, strong contact with both the outer fingers. Particularly pay attention to the little finger, it's very easily overlooked, but very much necessary. Now, my other idea for the first variation is a sort of a ricochet bowing. So we could do it as a triplet on down followed by an up, which would be all near the upper part of the bow. So you can see it's certainly flexibility of the wrist, but it's also something about on the down, this finger, then little finger for the up. And you could do it the other way around as well, going up first and then down. It is quite difficult to maintain the consistency of the crispness of that bounce, and hence you try it for the whole study and see if you can get that better control in the fingers. Okay, so that's my introduction about the three types of bowing that we can use for this study. In terms of the left-hand context, very straightforward. C major, one tiny modulation into G, across all four strings, quite arpeggio in shape, but it also has falling scales. That's it. Okay, here it goes then. The study as it's written, extraordinarily straightforward. Actually, there's only one note on the C, which is open C. For that one, don't forget to drop the elbow so you get a reasonably good contact for speech for that one note. We'll try variation 2 next. So this is going to be in fours, more like middle of the bow, and you may find that a lot more sense of effort on the beginning of the second set each time on the up bow, which will have felt a bit easier in the quaver version. Here it is then. And in that variation, the very last note of each set, you should be endeavouring to try and make that also a semiquaver, not a quaver. And as you go through it, you can listen to see if your down bow ending stroke sounds the same as the up bow ending stroke. You can always try tricking yourself and start up and just see if that still sounds unidentifiable, whether you're started down or up. So have a go at that. Lastly, I shall remind you about the potential triplet version, which would be about ricochet. So I'll show you a little bit of that, starting with downs. I wasn't sure if I was in the mood to complete it, but why not? And you could potentially do the slightly more tricky version, which would be starting on and up for those. Let's try a bit of that. Similarly, sort of probably top third of the bow, something like that. As you can tell through that, it's a lot harder to get that to bounce and crisply, and in fact I was finding it's a little bit easier near to the middle. Have a go.